Yo, this is Renan with Piece of Pie Learning, and this is the Slice, where we serve up sweet, hot tips and insights on how to crush the SAT math. And with us today, we have one of our former math monsters who took our math prep course. It was in April, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I have to say, really proud of not only the accomplishments that she's achieved, but also ultimately the work ethic that she has, because this is, that's something that's just of the person. I mean, it's something that you can over time work on and gain, but that's the number one thing that I appreciate, right? It's not necessarily, oh, they're good or bad at math or anything along those lines. To me, the most important thing is, does this person care, and will they put in the work? And she did both of those to the max. So it goes without saying that, I'm really happy to have you here. And why don't you introduce yourself and let everyone know, where you're at and what you're doing right now?
Okay, yeah. Neyida Michelle. I currently go to Mass at FIU. I'm a senior. I'm about to graduate. I got accepted into my dream college, Rice University. It's in Houston, Texas. Got in on a full scholarship, so definitely going there. And I'm just waiting to finish my senior year so I could go.
Now the key question is, what did it take for you to get there?
I honestly, sometimes I was like, how did I get here? Like on some days, how did I get here? But I think you gotta have the work ethic to get there. Like, especially SAT wise. Some people are just amazing, fantabulous, like test takers, and they could just off the bat, like 800, like whatever, the 750s off the bat. I'm not like the best test taker, so I had to like put in the work to get to like my 760.
So essentially what you're saying is that, right, you had everything else, you had the grades, right? The extracurriculars or whatever, and ultimately, I guess the only missing link was the SAT.
Yeah, because it's like when you're doing your college apps, especially, you're like, you need to have balance in every area. So like, especially these top colleges are like looking at you because it's so competitive. Like you realize like almost everyone has like the same stats. So if you're below someone in stats, that could be the reason you get pushed out and someone else get pushed in.
Right. Like I feel like ultimately it's not like the SAT is not going to be the thing that gets you into a top school.
But it's not, you don't want it to be something you worry about that could potentially like make you not get in. Like you want it to just be, okay, I have the SAT score, I got to write my essays now. Like that's what you want to worry about. Like you don't have to worry about that.
And what about the whole test optional thing? What do you think about that?
It's all right. It's all right. I like it. Sometimes I like it, but honestly, if you do put in your SAT there, they do like, it's another thing for them to consider in your application, especially if you like, we're light because we were quarantining, so we didn't get to do like a lot. So it felt empty. So having to put like my SAT felt great because like, I'm padding on to like the resume. So these colleges could, oh, she's a full person. She has good scores,
Right.
Extracurriculars, everything.
I have mixed feelings about the test optional. And there's a lot of debate.
Yeah.
But ultimately, it's hard for me not to think of the fact that if there's somebody that has the same everything else as you, they're not gonna have the same essay, they're not gonna be the same person, different people. Right? So that'll ultimately differentiate. I think that's like one of the number one things. But aside from that, everything else is the same, and you got an SAT score. I feel like that's gonna put you over the edge.
Yeah, you just have one more thing so they could evaluate.
Right.
Yeah.
But hold up, I want to pull back a little bit. Because I didn't know this about you. So you said you weren't a good test taker?
I don't think I'm a good test taker because I get like nervous and stuff. Like, I don't know, I feel like I know the material, but something happens on test day, like it's just out the bat. Like in AP Cal, I'm in AP Cal right now because I didn't get to take it last year. We're doing like volume. Volume is like, I don't know, I get volume. It's kind of good for me. But on the test, I folded and I got a C and I should have gotten an A. But like a lot of it was like stupid mistakes. I realized like I forgot to multiply by pi, or like things I'm like you do because you're nervous.
Which also happens on the SAT.
It also happens on the SAT. And there are like people like in my class, they go off of vibes. They're good test takers. They could guess well. Like I'm a bad guesser. I don't know. I feel like some people are good at guessing. They could guess well towards the answer, especially in SAT. Like people think, oh, there's a lot of D's, there's a lot of C's, that works for some people. It does never works for me.
Yo, one time I promise you, I think it was for the reading actually, because I take the test, bro. I was taking a test and I was in the reading section and it was running out of time and I had like 2 more problems left. And I legit went back and I was like, look, like mathematically, it's probably going to be 1/4 A, 1/4 B, 1/4 C, 1/4 D. I was super confident about my other answers. So I'm like, all right, cool. I got 13 A's already filled in. I got 14 B's and I'm missing a few C's. And that's when I got my highest reading. So
see, look at that.
Math helps.
Math could help, yeah.
Even in the reading, guys. But hold up, Pike. Yeah, I'm like tangent master. So you were not a good test taker, but not, and like, it's not like you're saying it was just, oh, you were good at taking tests at school and then just on the SAT. You were saying like in general, even now, it's like you tend to struggle and get nervous on tests and, ultimately not allowing you to perform at your highest ability, right?
Yeah.
How did you overcome that to get, what was it, a 7 what?
A 750.
So you went from from a what to a what?
5, I think 30 or 540 to a 760.
That sounds, I think that was right. I don't remember off the top of my head, to be honest.
But that was it, I think, yeah.
And so somehow you had to go from not being a good test taker to being a good test taker.
Yeah. I think, yeah.
Right. I mean, like, I don't know, like.
No, it is. Like, I'm a better test taker now after taking the SAT. Like, especially, I think what helped a lot was the practice test. Cause it was so repetitive. I'm like, okay, I get this. This is the same thing. It's like the same, okay, first 10 questions are going to be like easy. Then the next 5 are going to be hard. Then after that, you could breeze through with the writing. Like I remember that thing because I was doing it so much. I think the practice like helped, and also like seeing like my scores went up gave me motivation. I was like, oh, I'm actually understanding this. It just gave me confidence. When you have the confidence, you could go in and take that test like easier.
How many practice tests do you remember how many practice tests you took before you took the actual exam?
Like my first time, or with you?
With us, yeah.
With us, I at least took like 8. I feel.
I should have looked it up. At least, if I'm not mistaken, because I know how we do it now in our prep, and what I usually tell students is the sweet spot is about 10 practice tests. I get that some, like some time crunches or situations don't allow that to happen. And sometimes it's better not to take practice tests yet, unless, until you've learned the material, right? It's like kind of like a balance of like learning what you need to know and then practicing, applying it on the practice exams. Because at the end of the day, those are 2 different things, right? It's like, okay, let me learn the material. Now I'm going to be exposed to this material in a mixed manner with time pressure. So it's like this kind of dance between learning the material, practicing with time pressure, learning the material. And like within a 10-week cycle, which is usually how long our prep was, that was how long your prep was.
Yeah. So I at least did because I did the recommended like the 10 and I did like 2 extra.
I remember like you went above me on. I know it's for a fact. Man, like most students who go up 100+ points, you like crush that, end up taking more than 10.
Yeah, for sure.
But for the listeners, like, because a lot of people are gonna ask, like, what does it take to go up 100 points, or what does it take to go up in general? And I'm like, you better take at least 10 practice tests.
Yeah, and I hated it at first. Not gonna lie, but like once you get it, it becomes like, oh, 60 minutes, easy. Like it's just off the it felt easier to take that. Like when I took the SAT again, actually, to get my reading score up, and I hated practicing for the reading. Like the reading was just so hard to pick up, but the math, I practiced for math once and I still I got a 700, like just one practice test. Like I was like, I still have it in me to get like the 700. Yeah.
That's a good sign. It's not a fluke, like you maintain what you gotta
Yeah.
learn.
After the third one, I feel like the third practice test, it started becoming like easier because it gets like, I don't know, the timing of 60 minutes just seems like a lot, but then as you're taking it, it seems smaller every time you take the practice test. So you're not really like scared blocking out that time to just do it.
Right. So it's okay. So I guess that was kind of where I saw you going there. So I was like, it's a good place to go, which is, some kids, it's really easy for me to get them to take practice. And those are usually the kids that are fully committed and just everything I say, they're doing it. Like, so it doesn't matter. I tell them to do it. They're going to find the way in their schedule to get it done. But then there's other times where either be it because they're super busy with school or maybe they're just, they don't want to do it. Like, I feel like for you, it may have been both because I know you have a lot of work with school. And at the same time, you were saying that at first, because you get test anxiety, so on and so forth, like, it's just like, it seems like I got to sit down for, and it's an 80-minute thing total, right? It's 25 for one section, 55. But what you're basically saying is like, eventually, it wasn't that bad, right? But let's like peel back at that. Did you ever split up the time? Like, did you take like the 25-minute one first, or you always did it at once?
There's one time I did a split. It's because I had work that day and I knew I was gonna get home and be really tired. So I took the 55-minute part, the long one, like during a class, like a study period where I didn't really have anything to do. And I took the 25 at home before I went to sleep. Yeah. But it's fine if you split it up too. As long as you like give yourself that a little bit of the environment of, timing yourself, putting the mask on, the things that you tell us to do on the little doc. Yeah.
Okay. Did you ever take a test untimed?
Untimed.
It's time to be real with me.
Okay, like if I was on the last question, okay, the first few, yes. Like on the last question, I was like, oh, yo, I could bubble it in, I could do a little, but I never like took it untimed.
You always had a timer to an extent.
I always had a timer. Yeah, I always had a timer. The first two, I went like, I didn't finish. Like, I honestly did not finish as close as I wanted to. And I was like, yo, I got to go a little bit over. Like, I gave myself a little 10 minutes extra to finish. Yeah.
How did that happen? So actually, let's talk about that. So you had, in the beginning, you were barely finishing.
I was barely finishing, yeah.
And then at the end, were you finishing with time or what?
Yeah, it was like at the beginning, I was barely finishing. And then in the middle, I was finishing too fast and making stupid mistakes like 2 + 2 is 5, or 3 × 2 is 8 or whatever.
You feel me? Things like that, little small things that your brain does, and you just if you're going too fast,
you're going too fast. Yeah.
So too slow, too fast, and then what?
And then like you just told us, because at that point we were going too fast. We understood everything. That's why we were just trying to rush to have a lot of extra time. But I just took my time. Like I still went like a good pace. I took my time and I finished, but I still had like, on the cal, I always had like at least 10 minutes left over. On the no cal, it was like maybe 5 or 3 minutes. Yeah.
It's more compressed.
Yeah.
I still have kids asking me though all the time, like, do you have any tips for time? And I'll be honest with you, I still kind of struggle giving like just like the number one thing that I tell students for time management. Well, there's probably like 2 things, right? Or it keeps going. 3 things. The first one is the more you know the material, the faster you're gonna go.
Yeah, actually,
right? Yeah. Like part of getting faster is just as soon as you familiarize yourself with the content, you're just gonna be able to see it on the test and know what to do. You're not gonna get stuck. That's one thing. The other thing is just getting comfortable with the test and knowing where the easy and hard problems are.
Yeah, those are the
And then the last thing is just don't get stuck on a problem.
Yes.
Do you have anything to add, or did any of those resonate with you?
No, those hit home, like especially like the last one, where you don't get stuck on a problem. If it takes longer than like 10 seconds to like start thinking of a process or like plug in if it's not plugging in is not working, I moved on. And I came back to it because you'll have time at the end. You'll have time at the end.
I think that's it. And I've been trying to find a time to tell the kids, like at first I thought like 30 seconds, but maybe that's too much even. Like it's like you should be able to look at the problem.
Yeah.
And have an idea. I mean, read the problem, probably takes like 10 seconds. But once you're done reading it, if nothing comes, like, like if you can't be like, oh, this is a percent problem and I'm probably gonna do something. If nothing comes to mind, it's probably better just to.
Especially if it's those, like, I also the knowing that like the first few were easy and then the like 5 were hard and then easy again, that really helped. Because then those problems, especially those problems, if they took me too long, I skipped them automatically. Like the easier problems, I would maybe take a little, like maybe 20 seconds or 30 seconds. But the hard problems, if they took long, I would skip them automatically and then go to the next one, because I know I could have more time to finish the hard ones at the end and get through the easy ones. Because it's about points at the end of the day. Like they're the same amount of points. I might as well get the easier points done with.
And let me explain this a little bit for everybody listening, just because I feel like most people don't know what we're talking about right now. So essentially the way the test is broken up, I'm just going to grab the non-calculator and break that down first. So the non-calculator has 25 questions. Just kidding. Pause. 20 questions, and you have 25 minutes, right? And those 20 questions, more or less, right, you can break it down first by multiple choice and free response, right? The multiple choice is 1 through 15. And you check me, you let me know. So 1 through 15 is multiple choice. 16 through 20 is free response, right? The last 5 are the gridding.
Yeah.
And then what you'll notice is that from 1 to 15, it gets harder, right? 15 being the hardest multiple choice. And then it's what you said. After 15 is what I always tell you guys, it resets. And the first gridding becomes an easy problem again. And I feel like what a lot of people mess up on is what you weren't doing, right? They'll, once they get to like 9, or sorry, like, and it could be, and like easy, medium versus hard is really at that point a little subjective on the student, right? Something that's hard for somebody might be easy or medium for you, and vice versa. But so anywhere between like starting at like 9 to number 15 in the multiple choice of the non-calculator, those can be very difficult. You don't know where it's gonna be. It could be 15, it could be 13, it could be sometimes like 10 for you is just crazy difficult. So essentially it's like, especially in that area, if you find a problem where you're looking at it and you had to read it like a second time and you don't know what's going on, dip.
Yeah.
And then and I've seen it happen a lot where in the free response, 16 is easy, like super easy, like a simple solve for X. 17 is super easy, 18 is super easy. And then the worst part about this is students will get stuck between 10 and 15 or whatever, and then have to rush the easy ones, maybe get it wrong because they make a silly mistake. And then the worst part, the worst part is they're not multiple choice, right? So they run out of time on the fill-in. What are you gonna do? You're gonna guess a fill-in? No.
Yeah.
You can always come back to a hard number 14, multiple choice, and literally just wing it, and you got a 25% chance.
It's better though. Yeah.
So hold on, we just came up with the timing strategy here. So everybody, this is the strategy, right? Step 1, if you look at a problem, read it. If you read it twice and you still don't know what's going on, like it's been like about 10 to 20 seconds, next. Step 2, that applies twofold between the problems 10 and 15 on the non-calculator multiple choice, right? Make sure that you get to the free response, especially the first 2 or 3. And then after you're done getting through the whole test, you go back.
You'll have time.
Yeah. I like that. I like that a lot.
Yeah.
All right. So that's, and the same thing applies to the calculator section, but I'm not going to go into that here. It's very similar. You'll have to take our course to learn about that part. All right. So we talked a little bit about, where you're going to go right now, right? Where you got, what your outcome was. We talked a little bit about how you were able to get that. I guess the next question or the next place we can go, a little bit, I want to dig a little bit deeper into your situation, like before tutoring.
Before tutoring. Oh, like, okay.
Try to imagine, like, even go through, like, maybe, like, who you reached out to, who told you about it, like what you were going through in that moment.
Yeah. So I took like my first SAT, and I don't know, maybe I thought I was gonna do better, but I did worse than I expected. I thought I was at least gonna get a 1200, but I got a 1180. I was kind of sad. I was like, damn, is it impossible to, get this score? Like Khan wasn't really helping, like you wanted it to. You wish you could, that would be helpful, but it's really not for me at least. And I know there are SAT, like there are other SAT tutors, but it's like $1,000 or something. And like, I really don't have $1,000 to pay for SAT tutoring, as like, because even though I want that good score, it's so expensive. Like my mom, I couldn't afford it. My mom couldn't afford it. And Chloe, my friend, my amazing, she's my coworker. We're at work one day, and we went to Just Salad to get food.
All right.
And we're sitting down, and she's telling me about her SAT experience, how she's going like 100 points. I'm like, girl, this is impossible. I'm like, how are you going up 100 points? You just started. Because I know she just started like what, three weeks ago, and she's already up 100 points. I thought that was like impossible. And she was telling me about, it's online, which I love online stuff. I don't love online stuff, but this, like, because I know in-person tutoring is so expensive, and they told me about like the price. I was like, yeah, I could afford this. I could afford this. And I had an interview with you like after, and I was good on the interview. Like you explained to me, my mom really liked you, but I was like, it's Chloe. Can I really have the same results as Chloe? But then after like the first 3 tests, I was like, oh yeah, I'm improving. I'm understanding this. Like I understand what's going on.
Do you think so you say you liked online though? Do you feel like, or do you like online in general or no?
No, I don't really like online because I'll get lazy. Like I didn't fall asleep a lot, but I fell asleep sometimes. Like it's bound to happen. Like if you fall asleep, guys, just don't worry about it. Like not fall asleep, but if you doze off a little, don't worry about it. It happens to everyone, to the best of us.
Do you feel like, but how did it work out for you? Like, did we do it different or something? Or like, what do you think was it about the fact that you don't like online, you get tired online, maybe you just focus on some online, but we still made it happen? Like, why do you think?
Because it's interactive. It's interactive. Like even though it's group, and I think people like, oh, group, are you really like learning in a group style? Like you really focus on each student. Like when I was slacking, I was getting like 3 wrong in a row. You're like, what's happening? You texted me what's happening in the chat. And then like, I tightened up real quick, pay attention more. It's like, you're still focusing, even if it's like, I don't know, 8 kids or 9 kids in the class.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, yes, we do I think the key, to be honest, and we had just started doing this with you guys, but now we do it, I think, a lot better, which is what I call the in-class performance, right? So we're on Zoom, and I would have you guys send in the responses to every question. You remember that, right? So if you got A, B, C, or D, you had to send it in, and we log it, right? So, and now this is actually how I communicate with all of the teachers, and I tell them which problems to do. We have an Excel sheet, and the Excel sheet essentially tells them like, okay, you're gonna do number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4, number 5, whatever. And below each one, there's a student's name. And so as you're doing number 5, your name's here, you're on number 5, we put either a 1 or a 0 next to your name that indicates whether or not you got it right or wrong. And so we can keep track, because otherwise, man, you got 9 kids, you're gonna forget who got it right or who got it wrong. Yeah. And it's good to know, like, okay, in the past 3, has this person gotten it right? And it's what you were saying. Mm-hmm. I'm like, yo, has she not answered in 3? And at this point, I don't even you don't answer in 1 problem. I'm like, yo, where you at? Like, you better say something. You better say type to, and it's all private, so nobody needs to know when you're confused, which is the cool part. But you better at least be like, I don't know. So the ultimate question, was the course worth it?
100%. 100%. Like my math skills have gotten better. I'm killing an AP Cal. I love calculus. I like math now more because of the course. Like I said, like it fills in those gaps that you're missing. Because I think a lot of people hate math because they're missing like the fundamentals, especially like Dade County schools. I think teachers are teaching for the test for like the EOC that everyone has to take. So you understand how to take the test, but you don't really understand like algebra or geometry, like the fundamentals of it, and you just like bridge those gaps together, and it's like, oh, this makes sense. This is related to this, is related to this.
So you feel like, so hold on, let me get this straight. So you feel like the course helped you in your regular math?
Yeah, overall math skills like went up overall. Yeah, I think everyone who took the course could say that.
I mean, from my point of view, it kind of makes sense because a lot of people like to hate on the SAT. I kind of look at it because I love math, and like I'm a math nerd, and I love teaching, and I like teaching math. And, you know, it's not about just tricks, and we teach you tricks in the course. I mean, 100%. There's always little tricks to every test, right? Every test has a landscape, and you can learn the landscape, and with that comes tricks that allow you to do it quicker and do it more efficiently. But at the end of the day, the foundation of doing well on the SAT is knowing how to do math. And I think as much hate as the SAT gets, because I can understand, like, you know, if you're not going to do anything in math, maybe that level of understanding of math might not be telling of your success in those other fields, and maybe those things need to be changed. But when it comes down to math, right, and whether or not the SAT is a good indicator of your math skills that you learned in high school, I think it's pretty solid. It's algebra, geometry, algebra 2, a lot of things that, like you were saying, because the teachers were teaching to the test, were likely rushing and not giving you like a real chance to fully integrate it, right? So either the kid didn't learn it well in algebra, geometry, algebra 2, which, right, it's like they either didn't learn it well, not to cut myself off, right? So they either didn't learn it well or they forgot it.
Yeah.
Right? That's the two like the top two issues that students, the top two issues that aren't allowing students to do well on the SAT. They either forgot the fundamentals or they never learned it. I think for you, it was a mix of both.
Maybe not forgot it, but like the fundamentals part, yeah, for sure. Because I remembered some of the things, like, you know, like I kind of remember the 30, 60, 90 triangles, but I didn't use it like how we used it. Like when we're using an SAT in your class, we could make assumptions based on the 30, 60, 90 triangles about, like, you know, other sides of and those are like true assumptions because we know this rule. You know, we can manipulate math to work for us, but I didn't learn how to manipulate math. I guess I just learned how to do, like, you know, the basics to get the answer.
Right. And I think honestly, I think it was, we were talking about this earlier before we were doing the interview. And I think it was what you were saying. Like, so right now you're in calculus, and, you know, once you go to pre-cal and cal, you kind of stop doing the fundamental algebra 1. You stop doing really, like, you apply algebra 1, like algebra 1 is needed in a lot of areas, and there's geometry, you need to know some of that, and like pre-cal, you need to know some of the algebra 2. But I think teachers make the assumption that you like somehow maintain that knowledge like really well, right? They're like, you've already taken algebra 1 and algebra 2 in pre-cal or in geometry, you should know how to like immediately factor quickly in your head, and it should be like, and it's like, bro, the kid took algebra 1 and then never did it again. Well, how are you going to expect without a review? And that's where I think a lot of where the real issue is, right? That the teacher is making this assumption that the student understands that like they once did, doesn't review it, and then just like tramples the kid with all this new information that requires that fundamental, and the kid's like half getting it all for the whole thing. And then there's that one kid who somehow remembers it and he's killing it. But aside from that, you know, like if they did a review, it would go a lot better. So then what I think our course eventually does, because the SAT doesn't have calculus, it doesn't have pre-calculus, right? And that's actually what a lot of pre-cal and calculus kids come in frustrated about. They're like, I'm in cal and pre-cal, and like, I can't do well on my SAT. I don't know what's going on. So like, calm down, relax. This is what's going on. Step 1, SAT doesn't have calculus and it doesn't have pre-calculus. Step 2, everything that it does has, you forgot. So as soon as you remember it, not only do you do better on the SAT, but then when you go back to your math class and that stuff is fresh and you're using it to do the other things, everything pops.
Everything's up in math.
Nice.
Yeah.
I'm glad, and I didn't know about this until we started talking. You told me like, Renan, I'm actually like pretty good at math now.
Yeah.
Like, oh shit. That makes you really happy. I mean, at the end of the day, the ultimate goal was the score.
Mm-hmm.
Right? You needed to go up, whatever, 200 points.
Yeah.
I don't know if you needed that much, but
I didn't even think I was gonna go up. I was like aiming, like first coming off, I was like, okay, I could at least try to get a 650. No.
Get to 750 or I forgot.
Yeah.
Crazy. And then you would have never imagined getting into rice, and now you're there.
Yeah. Crazy.
So tell me, what are your plans? I mean, I don't know if you thought about this. What are you going to major in when you go to rice?
Computer science for sure. Computer science. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm gonna be contacting you to program the Piece of Pie app.
I got you. Yeah.
Crazy. So you went from this is my point. So you went from not being confident in math. Now you're going into a math field.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, technically, computer science is at least where I went to school, it was in engineering.
Yeah, it's engineering math field. Like I have to go out all the way to the differential equations, a little past that, I think. Yeah.
Are you enjoying Cal right now?
Yeah, I love Cal. Yeah, I love Cal.
Have you taken physics?
Yes. Physics, I had a crazy teacher, but it's fine. Physics, if you understand physics, sometimes I understand physics. I understand force, motion. But electrical, like when we got to electrical stuff, I was like, no, I'm good.
I didn't get physics until I saw it for the third time. I'm being totally honest. I saw it twice in high school, and then when I got to college, when I was like, oh, like, which is probably with anything, so you just got to see it a lot, right?
Yeah.
It goes back to the SAT stuff. It's like,
Yep.
Mister, how do I improve? Take 20 tests. No shit, like, hello. All right. So, any last words of wisdom for the students?
This course is worth it. If you're like worried about like spending money for like a bad course, because I know people who have spent money for like bad courses and their score only goes up like 50 points. Like this school, I don't know, especially for me, this was like so worth the investment into like my future. Especially you're gonna use math, especially for me in computer science, like all the time. So this was like worth like getting the good foundation in math that I needed to like be good in math, get my high SAT score, and do all that.
All right. Well, thank you for those kind words.
Yeah.
We're just gonna keep doing what we do, right?
Yes.
Keep doing what we do. Hopefully we get a lot more people to go up and improve like you did. And ultimately, man, if they get to enjoy math like you're doing it now, that makes my heart really happy.
Yeah.
So all right. So I'm gonna wrap things up right now. It was really great to have you on. I'm really excited for your future right now. Hopefully you keep me in touch, and don't forget that the Piece of Pie app is going to need some help soon. Don't forget who helped you out. You'll help us out.
Got you.
And yeah, until next time, guys. Peace.